Hey, good morning. It's Charlie Craven, and I am homesick from work today. And so I thought I'd use some of my time to make this little video that James has been asking me over and over again to do. And what it is the contents of my sling pack and sort of how I carry all my stuff and keep it together. I don't know if that's of interest to you, but he seems to think it will be. So I'll entertain him and try to show you what I've got here. And what I've got is a Fishpond sling pack. I like the sling packs because I don't have much of a butt, and fanny packs don't stay on me very well. And while I used a vest for years back in the day, I find the sling pack to be more out of the way and a little easier to work with in general. Not near as heavy and cumbersome on me. And the first thing that I'll point out on this pack is zoom out a little bit here. The way I've got my net attached here, and what I've got there is a Fishpond net that is an emerger net, so it's not terribly long. But what I've got up here is a gear keeper retractor attached on the strap, on the front of the strap, and then down here on the bottom of the bag, I've got a net magnet. So what I can do is when I carry that bag, swing this around here. Bear with me, this is not as easy to do one-handed as I anticipated. But this is how the bag rides on my back with the net from there. And then when I need it, I can just break that magnet loose, and I've still got the retractor attached. I'll do a more in-depth video on exactly what that rig is. This bag does have a net holster in the back of it, but this net handle is too short. And honestly, for me, again, being a shorter guy, a long-handled net sticks down to my knees and is in my way most of the time. So this is the solution I've come up with, and so far it's actually worked really well. So I'm going to kind of just cut to the chase here, and we'll just start on the outside of the bag, and I'll show you kind of what I've got on. Oh, we'll come back in and out. Pardon that. So I've got a Tippet T here on the bottom end. There's also a bottle holder in there, which I can actually stick that Tippet T inside of so it doesn't rattle when I walk. I don't know if you're like me, but that just bugs the hell out of me. So I like to keep that right there. And I've got some Umpqua Deceiver and Performex Nylon on there. And then I've also got some of the SA Absolute Fluorocrabon. I'd like to try all the different stuff that we carry in the shop, and I've always used the Umpqua stuff. I've been a huge fan of that, but I've been using this Absolute Fluorocrabon the last couple trips, and it's awfully nice stuff too. So at any rate, that's what's there. And then on top of the bag here, what we've got is, this is sort of one of my crowning achievements, this pair of Dr. Slick Spring Creek Forceps. You can see they've got fine tips. I've had for at least 10 years, and knock on wood, have not lost them yet. So I'm pretty proud of that. That's like almost being an adult at 52 years old. So I've got those just clipped on the outside on the top of the bag here. And then for my nippers, what I've got is an Angler's Image line clipper. And the thing I like about this is this has got a retractable needle, and you can slide that needle in and out, and that needle's long enough and positioned so that you can use it to untangle knots or pry open an indicator knot, pick out pieces of some shag on a fly. All sorts of different things you can do with that, but it retracts back in so it doesn't stab you when you're not paying attention. Also a good sharp pair of nippers, and not terribly expensive, which is nice. I am a big fan of the very high-end nippers. I've got a pair of Hatch nippers and Able nippers that are on my boat bag, but neither one of those fit so snugly up in there where it doesn't come out and tangle. So that's why I've got these on there, and I've used those for years. Even back when I was guiding, that's a great pair of nippers for about 18 bucks. I've got that attached to an Able retractor, and they don't make these anymore. But basically what that is right there is a gear keeper retractor in an aluminum housing made by Able. So these are sort of the fancy thing of the day. You got to keep in mind I'm an older guy, so I've got some stuff that maybe they don't make anymore, and this is one of them. But this is a nice heavy-duty retractor, and it pins on. You can see I've got it clipped on here as well, but it also has a big high-tack stud in the back, so it pins onto that bag, so it's very secure. And my nippers will slide up underneath that little grommet, and kind of stay hidden out of the way. And that's all I got on the top of my bag. On the outside over here, I've got a magic cloth and some Tiemco Dry Magic. Dry Magic is the best floatant I've ever used, particularly for CDC flies. You put it on before you use the fly. It keeps the CDC from getting matted down. You can catch 3, 4, 5 fish before you've got to reapply it. And the magic cloth is key for keeping those flies floating. You dry any of your flies, but particularly, again, CDC flies. Dry your fly off with this magic cloth, and it gets the fish slime off the wing, and it'll puff right back up like brand new. That's the key to fishing a mole fly, in case you were wondering. Then I've got a little bottle of Shimmy Shake. That's good for drying all your bigger stuff and getting the water out of them. Again, I use the magic cloth to wipe the fish slime off and then dry them off. So there's an order of operations for that stuff. And then also hanging on the outside here, I've got some tungsten putty. See if I can get that open one-handed. Dump it out on the ground, but a little clump of tungsten putty in there. And that is, the best thing in the world for nymph fishing, just making micro adjustments. It's just perfect for that kind of thing. So I keep that out here on the outside where I can get to it and use it as need be. Here on the outside of the bag, there's a couple of, these are Sims fly patches that I've just stuck to this Velcro on the outside. And truthfully, you can stick flies just right in this Velcro here too. I find that if you get one with a barb in there, though, it's pretty hard to get out. So I just stuck these Velcro fly patches on there. And there's a couple random flies. There's a Boy Wonder Hopper. There's a Trico that's been there a while. A little beta nymph, leech, any variety. Most of those flies fall off of there. So that's, if you've got a fly patch, you know how that works. Let's see here. In the big pocket here in the back, I've got all variety of stuff. I'm just going to pull this out in a handful and show you what I keep in that back pocket. A couple handfuls. All sorts of goodies in there. Oh, look at that. Keep these from rolling away. And I think that's the contents of that pocket. All right, so starting off, this is mostly indicator stuff that I've got here. And so I've got some polypropylene macrame yarn that I've brushed out ahead of time, and I've actually blended that to sort of a leaf color, stealthier color indicator for, just so it's not so much of a red flag to the fish. So I've got some of that. I've got a finger brush, which works great for brushing that out. I've also got an old Dennis Collier bobber brush, which was the predecessor. Can't get those anymore either. But that was a great brush, or still is a great brush for me, just not so much for you. Great brush for brushing out that indicator yarn. Then I've got a pair of old Thompson scissors. These are just old fly tying scissors that I keep in here to trim that indicator yarn. This is also handy if you don't have a pair of scissors in your pack or vest. You should have one. This is handy if you need to trim anything off of a fly. You want to trim the hackle off the bottom, make it float lower, make any adjustments like that. It's good to have a decent pair of scissors in there. So I have those in there. There's some indicator tippet, and I do carry this in my bag. I find this useful for a lot of stuff. When I nymph fish, I really prefer to sight fish, sight nymph. I just find that much more compelling than watching an indicator, and I really only watch an indicator if I have to, and these days I don't very often have to. But sight fishing, using a piece of this indicator tippet, it's bright yellow and orange. You can see the colors there. And I'll tie a piece of this in front of my tippet, or closer to the rod, right behind the tippet. And so you've got a bright high-vis piece of line that you can watch and sort of direct. Now, that being said, the other day I was fishing at Decker's, and I took off my nymph rig and switched to a dry, and left this piece of indicator tippet in the leader. And I got to say, it was pretty nice to have that little orange line on the water to kind of point you the right direction. It's easier to track things and kind of see where your mind is going, and just kind of a good visual aid. So that's pretty handy stuff. And again, that's just 4X, comes in a variety of sizes, but I use that 4X. We've got a bottle of Frog's Fanny, which is another product that's great for drying out CDC, but again, always in conjunction with that magic cloth. The magic cloth is what gets the fish slime off. If you just rub Frog's Fanny or Shimmy Shake or anything like that, even Dry Magic, just back on top of a wet fly with fish slime on it, it's not going to do much good. You're going to want to get it dried out and get the fish slime off of it with the cloth, and then use the product to dry it out and kind of fluff it back up to new again. So this has got a little brush in it, which works great. Oh, there, so I don't lose all of it. Works great for sort of working down into the materials on a fly. I have got a bone comb, and this is to help brush out that indicator yarn, although honestly this is sort of redundant. This has been in there a long time. You can see I've obviously added a few different tools to do that yarn indicator stuff, as rare as I do fish them, but this is what I used to use back in the day, and I think it's just been a remnant that's been in there, so maybe I'll just go put that back on my tie-in desk. I've got a stomach pump. This is a sort of a controversial tool. It can be a very handy tool, but honestly, if you know how to use it, it's a great tool. If you don't know how to use it, you shouldn't use it at all. Maybe we'll do a video on that. I haven't used this in a long time, but back in the day when I guided, I'd pump one fish every day just to see what had changed and what they were eating from day to day. You can kind of keep track of when they go from beta nymphs to PMDs, or maybe they start to key in on scuds, or just kind of keep track of the changes. And it's not something that you do on every fish, and you have to be have somebody show you how to use it. So maybe we'll do a video on that as well. But that can be a handy tool, although again, pretty rarely used these days. Got a couple of leaders, a couple of 9'5" Umpqua leaders, pretty standard. Like I say, I was down at Decker's the other day, so that's pretty standard rig. The flow did come up since then, so I wouldn't be using 5X anymore. It flows about, I think, 500, so I'd go up to 3X there, but pretty standard in friggin' or leader rig for anything down at Decker's with the smaller flies there. Here's another remnant that's been in here a long time. This is a Ninja indicator. I don't know why this is in here. I think I got this as a sample and I stuck it in my bag and I've never used it. So just while we're here, I'm going to take those two things that don't need to be here anymore and make them in a separate pile. Cortland dab. This has been, I just found this in one of my old bags and stuffed it in here. But this is a great product. It's a gel floatant. Great product to use on yarn indicators. It stays on. It's pretty gooey. It does melt. You can see it kind of bled all over everywhere there, but that's a thick product. Mucilin works really well as well for those yarn indicators. And if you do them ahead of time, Flyagre is fantastic for it as well. And then we've got the dirty old indicators here. I've got a few Oros and this, I'll tell you, this Thingamabobber right here has been in this bag for as long as they've made Thingamabobbers. And it's been used a time or two, and I do carry a few of them, but God, I hate using indicators. So I won't say that I use them very often, but I've used all those at one point or another. These Oros are, they unscrew in the middle, and let's see if I can, I can't really do it one-handed, but you can see that seam. They unscrew in the middle, and they've got a little slot that you slide your line through. Nice and adjustable. They do cast nice, I will say that. Thingamabobbers, of course, been around for a long time. Very buoyant. Weird little grommet on the bottom, though, so it does kink your line, but there's liabilities to everything, and that's one of them. That little piece of tubing, just piece of vinyl tubing, actually goes over the tips of my scissors here, so it doesn't stab me inadvertently through my pack, so I'll put that back on there. I'm just going to leave that stuff out because we're going to keep making a pile. Maybe I'll do some more spring cleaning here as we go. I'm going to open this next pocket, and this is where I keep my fly boxes. This is that back one was the big back pocket. The center pocket here, I've got 3 or 4 fly boxes in. Yeah, I think that's it. That's in there. And the nice thing in this bag is that's a big, wide bottom pocket. So you can put your boxes in this way or this way. If you're just carrying a few, it keeps the bag pretty slim to keep them horizontal. But you can turn them vertical like this as well and just stack them all the way through there and really carry a lot. If you feel like being a pack mule, that's a good way to go about things. So I'll give you a little peek up my skirt here for what I've got in these boxes anyway. So this is a big dry dropper dry box, and that sticker there is my son Jonathan. BNR was Big Nuts Racing. That's his mini bike motor building company that he had back in the day, and he was number 71. So that and there he is racing a mini bike on ice, because that's just the kind of kid he was. But I like to keep a different sticker on each of these boxes. Just helps me keep track of things and reminds me of my boy. So so in this box, and this is an Umpqua medium size box here, and you can see these are all adjustable compartments. You can move these and create different sizes. This box has got, like I said, this is dry dropper stuff. So I've got some Fat Angies and some Boy Wonder hoppers and some more a lot of Fat Angies in there. There's some Jeffrey Daubers, some Charlie Boy, some Mr. Jones. If you haven't seen Mr. Jones yet, get you a single one of these out. Mr. Jones is a skating crane fly. A couple of them kind of stuck together. Skating crane fly pattern. If I can get them apart, dang things. All right, there's a single. Anyway, big forward-facing wing, widespread wings, foam body. That is a great fun fly to fish. That's been one that I've had a lot of fun with, but got a few of those stuffed in here. Some baby boy hoppers, Lucky Bees. That is a yellow jacket imitation, and it's a pretty darn good one. That looks like a yellow jacket, and that fly does get eaten. So at any rate, what's in this box? The idea of what's in this box are flies that I can fish a dropper under. That last time I was at Decker's, a purple Fat Angie, like that guy right there, with a size 18 purple Jujubatus tungsten Jujubatus underneath it. Worked pretty darn well in those shallow riffles. Like I say, that water's come up since then, so maybe not as important today, but it worked pretty good a couple weeks ago. So that's what's in that box. Then I've got my Betas box, and these are my Betas dries. So I've got any variety of parachutes, and you can actually see over here there's some ants and a couple of snowball beetles, mole flies, of course, lots of compartments of mole flies. Yeah, more parachutes, more cripples, loopwing emergers, any CDC comparadons. There's a lot of stuff in that box, and I almost always go to that bin right there, which is size 20 mole flies. That fly works good. That's a DeWitt box. Apparently DeWitt went out of business during COVID. That's a shame. I've used those boxes for years, and it's a good, tough, durable box. I just put a little label on the end so that when they are in the bag like that, you can see what you got. That also works in my boat bag. So that's what's in those two. And then this box here is my big main nymph box. This is a big Wheatley swing leaf box. It's got my big red sticker on the front of it, so I know it's mine. And then on the back of it, it's got the sticker from my friend Blake Clark, who is the swim coach, as you may know him. He's the guy that taught me to swim in the North Fork of the Shoshone. And I'm not convinced he didn't do it on purpose. He keeps saying he didn't, but the story gets funnier every time he tells it. And so, at any rate, and what's in this box? You can see I've obviously replaced the foam in here. They had some rainbow-colored foam at the craft store when I went, and I thought that looked cool and actually makes lining things up a little bit easier. So I just cut that and fit that in there. I replace this foam every couple years anyway, but this box has got, 2-bit hookers. Obviously this is my box, so this is stuff I fish a lot. 2-bit hookers in a variety of sizes and colors. 2-bit hooker jigs. There's some 2-bit midges down there. And over on this side, we've got Jujubatus that, as I look at it here, need to be restocked. I need to fill some of those in. I fish. I say this all the time in the shop, but on any of the tailwaters, I very often will fish a Jujubatus with a Jujubatus dropper. Maybe a purple one and an original brown one, or a red and a brown one, or a brown and a purple one. Any combination thereof. But that new camo color has been a big hit as well. But at any rate, I carry lots of Jujubatus, and I fish lots of Jujubatus. Some little. What do we got? Some split foam backs, some soft tackles, bar emergers. That's a good old fly. Fished that for a long time. Buyout bar emergers. There's some PMD bar emergers there as well. Just there's always a little something in there. And then over on this side, And you can see why I like this box. Holds a ton of flies. I can fit a ton of nymphs in here. And really most days I could take just this box. If I'm not encountering a hatch, I can just take this box and fish all I like. But over here I've got caddis. So I've got Beaver's Better buckskins. It's a great little caddis larva imitation. Some Barr's graphic caddis, LaFontaine sparkle pupa, catastrophic pupa. And I've got some problem childs, some harib cased caddis. That little fly right there is called a cowboy from my friend Larry Fredericks. Some juju emergers, some more soft tackle emergers, a couple of stoneflies somebody gave me that I stuck in there. That's a little secret thing I can't really talk about. We'll just move that off the screen. We'll work up to that. You'll see that sooner or later. Got some scuds and some pig stickers in there as well. And then finally some leeches. It's always good to have a few different leech patterns in your box. And you can see there's not a ton of them, but it's good to have them. And then over on this side, I've got some medium-sized stonefly nymphs. So CDC stones, CDC golden stones. There's a couple of bar tongue stones in there. 2-bit stones, rubber leg hare's ears, 2-bit sallies, juju sallies. There's one big copper john. I've had that fly. See that orange one right there? I've had that fly for a long time. I bet I've had that fly for 20 years, and I've fished it a lot, and I cannot lose it, so I just keep putting it in the box. He's earned his spot. That's a big, like size 10 copper john that a lot of times I'll use. Obviously very, very heavily weighted, but I'll use that to kind of drag some other stuff down. But it's sort of earned its spot because it's been around so long. There's some 2-bit drakes, CDC pheasant tails. That's a favorite fly of mine. I like that fly a lot. We've got some big net builder caddis, just some kind of fuzzy little bugs there, and then some cranefly larvae to kind of round things out. And that's just like I say, I was down on the Platte. That's what I carried, and I ended up fishing a mole fly, a baby gonga, some jujubatus. Not too much different from my usual patch of fly patterns. And then the last thing I've got in here, I actually just put this in here since then because it was raining that day, and that I was down there at Decker's, and I had been fishing a streamer. I just took a couple streamers and stuck them in my rain jacket pocket. And then at the shop we got these little snack pack boxes. So I sort of made myself a little streamer fishing kit. One of the nice things when the skies get overcast or it starts to rain and you're wade fishing, you can tie a streamer on and just go for a nice long walk and cover all the water and usually have a pretty good day. But you got to have a few things with you, and you don't need your whole pack. You don't need your net because you're going to be fishing heavy tippet. So I made this up, and basically what this is the largest size of those snack packs. And I've drilled a hole in the bottom there, and I stuck a spool of 1X tippet inside that box. Just fed it out through that hole right there. So I've got my tippet dispenser, and then just a handful of baby gongas and a couple of swim coaches in there. Really all I needed for the day. I'll take my lanyard with a pair of nippers and a pair of forceps on there, and off to the races. Just in case you hang your fly in a tree or on a log and you got to retie, you've got some extra tippet, and you got a few extra flies in case you need to change them up a little bit. But I will tell you, I fished several hours the other day with the same fly on the same rig and never lost it. So, but now I've got this, so that's going to be a handy little thing to have. And I think that, for the most part, is we got one more pocket here. The contents of my bag, but we got one more. So inside here we've got a fly patch, and that's got just any variety of flies that have been used. You can see a fat Angie, some jujubatus, some mole flies. You can see what I use a lot of time. Baby gonga. I think the one that I was using the other day, I think that was my spare. The one that I was using the other day is actually on the speaker in my truck. We got some Dinsmore split shot and some more Dry Magic. And then, that's all indicators and leaders. So what's in there are pulsa and lightning strike indicators. These lightning strike indicators are a little bit bigger football-shaped foam indicator, very much like a pulsa stick-on indicator. But I like to use those for sight fishing, and like I say, that's what I prefer to do. And then just various size leaders. What else is in that pocket? Hey, there's my fire starter. I've carried this for years. I had this back in the day with my vest. Carried it for years. I've used it a time or two. It's a piece of a hacksaw blade, some magnesium and a flint, and if you need to make a fire, this will start it anywhere you need to go. But that's been a pretty handy thing. I've used that several times over the years, so I just leave that in there just in case. You never know what may what may happen to you out there. But yeah, I think that's the grand layout. I should have spread that all in this table so you got a better look at it. But that's the grand layout of what's in my Fishpond sling pack. And those fly boxes will vary. Most of everything else kind of just lives in there. Like I say, some of that stuff has lived in there for years. But you know, the fly boxes will change out depending on where I'm going or what I'm fishing. You know, small creek stuff obviously is going to be a little bit different combination than tailwater, but I can switch those out. And one of the nice things about this bag is it really will hold a lot of stuff if you need it to. But that's my bag. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have questions, put them down in the comments, and I'll probably not read them. But maybe I will. You know, take a chance. I believe. You should believe too. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Charlie Craven.